As always, please retry the question before watching the video. So for this question, we know it's a clause question because the punctuation is changing from answer to answer. So what you want to do is consider the three things for each answer individually. And since there's punctuation in the middle of two clauses, we know it's going to be a clause 3 question. So you probably want to start there of just determining the sentence structure. So pause the video and see if you can determine the sentence structure of the two clauses involved in this sentence. All right, so let's just break it down. Jones wasn't alone. Jones was not. That's your subject verb combo. Alone. This is your full clause. It's an independent clause. It does not start with a dependent clause marker. And then we have some Florida residents and frequent visitors sought to preserve the bay by turning it into a national park. So you're reading these, you should not read the punctuation that they gave when you're just determining the sentence structure. So some Florida residents and frequent visitors sought. That whole thing is our subject verb combo, the verb being sought. Okay, so this is our second clause. It does not start with a dependent clause marker. Therefore, it is also independent. So our sentence structure is independent plus independent. How do we separate independent plus independent? One of the 5 ways. What are the 5 ways? Comma, period, dash, colon. So we need to find the answer that separates these properly. Answer F does not. It separates them with a comma. Answer J also separates it with a comma. So we can eliminate those 2 answers. So we're left with G and H. The only difference between G and H is this comma. Okay, so you don't need to consider the 5 ways. If it has any of the 5 ways, and it's fine. And you don't need to consider what a semicolon or a colon is used for. You just need to know that one of them needs to be there to separate 2 independent clauses. So the only real difference here is the comma. And so we need to determine, can it be done without a comma? Because if it can be done without a comma, it must be done without a comma. So answer H, we'll read it without the comma and determine if it needs it or if it can be done without it. Some Florida residents and frequent visitors sought to preserve the So we know it absolutely can be done without a comma. Therefore, it must be done without a comma. So we can eliminate answer H. If that made sense to you, please go ahead and add it to your worksheet. Write what you learned along with the answer on the explanation side. And then continue on to do the remaining clause 3 questions that you missed on this test. If this is the final clause 3 question that you missed on this test, please go ahead and do the clause 3 mastery until you get 10 questions correct in a row before coming back and doing the next category.